I'm Joshua Potts, Mr. Possible, always with a brother with the same mother, Aaron Potts, Super Hot Potts, and you're watching and listening to your favorite two black runners every single
Two black, two stay. Yes, sir. We are back. We are back. And as you can tell, I am excited. I'm hyped because we got our first guest interview. Joshua, our first guest interview of 2026. We really back fully.
There we go. 3 straight weeks, y'all. 3 straight weeks of podcast episodes. I bet y'all didn't believe this would happen. I didn't believe it would happen, to be honest, either. But it is in the midst. Y'all are witnessing history here in 2026 of consistency. And we got a man coming on the podcast that, shoot, he may be the embodiment of consistency. He's done it all throughout in so many genres, environments, and what he does right now is simply amazing. The guy that we're bringing on, Aaron, I know you're hyped to talk about him just
Yes, sir.
overall. Before we even just get through the accolades, everything he's done and everything like that, like talk a little bit about it.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, I just want your excitement. Give me some
Oh,
excitement, bro.
I mean, my excitement is high. I actually ran into this guy the other day. It was at like an exclusive, Hoka event. Of course, he was there. You know, I met this dude some years ago, but I saw him and I was like, yo, he need to be on the pod. His story needs to be told. And I know everyone listening to this, y'all, after you listen, you're gonna walk away energized, you're gonna walk away inspired, and there's gonna be something that you learn that you're gonna be able to take into your life. So that's the type of energy that we gonna have from this guest, Joshua. But run them through it. Throw a little bit of something. Throw a little bit of something. Give him some hints, Joshua.
First off, we got a husband, a father. You feel me? We got the Speed Project brand director. Everyone knows the Speed Project. All the running nerds know the Speed Project. He in it every single year. Head of brand marketing and partnerships. He's been there. He's an influencer, a celebrity marketing for the NFL. 5 year career that he had with Nike in brand marketing and so much. And even back in the day at Boston College, he was throwing the pigskin over there as well, man. This dude has been all over, founder and CEO of WATUWEMA, and honestly, somebody that is a tastemaker in every single space that you can possibly really imagine. On the podcast, two black runners, first one of 2026, we have the Jarick Walker, man. Nice to you to join us, Jarick. Nice for you to be here.
Gentlemen. This is by far the best intro that I've ever had. I was like over here trying to hold back my joy, my tears even. Super excited to be on here. Super excited to be a part of this consistency journey that you're on. And
Hey,
like, and now that I know, I'm probably just gonna be like, you just get a random text like, "Are you being consistent? Like, is
Yes.
the pod still going? Okay." Because that's what we need. We all need that accountability partner.
definitely.
I need it too. Yeah, this was dope. I appreciate it. I'm super hyped to be here.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like Jerick, I met you, we crossed paths such a long time
Mhm.
ago, and it's been great to just like root you on from afar and see the levels that you've ascended to and the different things that you've been able to do. What was your thought when I pulled up onto you at the event? Were you like, wait, what? Like this person
Nah, man.
remembers?
It was a trip because it's funny. I feel like uh it's where lately I've been saying this thing of like, if you ever get kind of stuck thinking about what you want to do next or what your future is supposed to hold, I just say, just like go back a couple years and just like remember who you were back in the day. And for me, it's always like super, and that's what I've been on heavily these last couple of years. And so anytime I meet someone that I met or know from the past, joy, just straight joy. And so when I saw you, I was like, wait a minute. And also I was like, what are you doing now? Because I'm trying to remember because we met when I don't know where I was at the time that we met. Was I working at?
You were either working as an Ekin or for Blue Ribbon, and
Yeah, right.
I was living in San Luis Obispo and working at
Yes.
Running Warehouse.
Okay, yes, which is okay. And you guys came out to the Arcadia,
Yeah.
right? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so yeah, I was a running specialist for Nike at that time. And it's crazy because that it was like at that job, funny enough, when I had that gig, I thought I was gonna be at Nike until like I like retired.
Hmm.
I thought I was just gonna be like, the old black CEO that dropped wisdom every now and then that was it. That was my future. And like so many pivots happened after that moment. So yeah, when I saw you, especially in this journey that I'm on of like recollecting the past, it was dope because I was such in a different mindset when we were working together. And yeah, to see you also making moves on the running side of things is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I feel like there's so many different directions that we can go with this podcast. Like they even
Yeah.
thought of someone as a former Nike employee and now
Hmm.
being a co-founder and CEO of your own company at the moment too, and uh, doing all that you do with the Speed Project. That's really
Yeah.
right around the corner, which is so exciting. But before we
Stress.
get there, I would love for you to kind of just describe like who you are as well. Like we did our best rendition as we possibly can. But
Yeah.
for you in the space where a lot of our audience knows, like in the running, like how would you introduce yourself? But then also just as a person, how would you also introduce yourself? I'm curious.
Yeah, man. I would introduce myself as a connector and a curator. I think it's really interesting. I feel like as you get older, I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. That's what I'd be saying, so you can do the math in between if you're good at math. But like I feel like a lot of times we get defined by our jobs, and I see so many people my age, older, when they leave that job that they've been at forever, they don't know who they are anymore. And so yeah, like my jobs don't define me. While they definitely have played a part in my story, but I think ultimately throughout every single job that I've had, I've connected and I've curated moments that for me, the thing that drives me the most is just being able to entertain and inspire. And like that's like my line. And that's my kind of scope of if it allows me to do that, those two things, then I'm cool. I'll do it. If not, it's not for me. And I'll move on. So yeah, that's me. And husband, father, that is a new tag. My son will be 1 next month. Actually, he turns 1 during TSP. And so my man's gonna have to be there for his birthday to really like turn it up one time for his first year of life. But yeah, that's me.
No, that's awesome. And it's cool, yeah, to see from afar like the evolution and to be frank, like seeing people like you in the space is what inspires me, at the level that you were at Arcadia, and then to see you continuing to not just move up, but to create like your own lane specifically for yourself
Yeah.
is where I really am feel most inspired and like most proud of like
Mhm.
the work you've done. And I really hope that like, by sharing your story today, like someone can feel that same type of like inspiration that I felt from like seeing, another black man, you know, accomplish things within the career, but also, yeah, when I saw, beautiful wife and like family, like that part of it too, like that's something that I strive for. So just like another, just want to give you your flowers as much as I can.
I appreciate that, man. And yo, you on your way, dude. Like I'm inspired by you, man. Both of y'all having this podcast, like when you shared about this pod and doing it with your brother, I'm like, man, that's beautiful. Like that's something where me and my boys still yell at each other because I was like, how are we not working with each other?
Yeah.
And like my closest friends are my brothers. I'm my only child, and so the fact that we have not put like pen to paper to create something together to me is still a miss that needs to be dealt with. And so I'm very much inspired by you. The fact that you're still in the running space and right now y'all are creating something on your own. And yo, that intro again. Legendary. Like for real, legendary.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. But Aaron, where do you want to start on this journey, man?
I think let's go back. Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, Boston roots, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Born and raised over there. I remember that was one of the first things I learned about you when I met you.
Oh, we
Uh,
talking New Edition?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, come on now.
hey,
okay.
What you know
tradition.
about New Edition, Josh?
Okay.
You got to see them. I'm wearing a Michael Jackson shirt
I see
on.
it. I
You
see
feel
it.
me? Like that's what it's about.
Yeah, man. That was a big Boston claim to fame. Especially when people are like, there's black people in Boston. I'm like, New Edition and me.
True.
But yeah, no, Boston roots, man. So my family came from Jamaica. So I'm first generation Jamaican. There's a lot of Caribbeans in Boston, if you didn't know. Like I grew up with a bunch of Jamaicans, Haitians, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Bajans, all of it, to the point where like for a long time I thought all black people were just Caribbean. It
Mm,
took me some time to figure it out. And I grew up with a single mom for a little bit until my mom remarried. My family's super religious, and so I grew up in the church, which I feel like built a lot of foundation of who I am, especially as it relates to like just really leading into community, and also just trying to always inspire people. My grandfather's is a preacher to this day. He's like 80 something, still out here
well,
trying to move people. And then yeah, I grew up as only child, and played sports. I mean, I was a like my family didn't really like they wanted me to play soccer because that's all they really knew about, or basketball, and I was trash at both. But I was a bigger kid, so that's why I ended up playing football. Um, and I was trash at that too, but I just kept going, and then eventually I figured it out. I actually learned this is, I mean, I already told you I'm closer to 40 than 30, but I learned how to play football by playing Madden. And so I made a lot of mistakes. You know about Madden, right, Josh? You know what that
what
is?
Madden still there's still new editions of Madden.
Just,
Like
I'm just messing with you,
I
dog.
played Madden 2005 with Ray Lewis on the cover.
Okay, come on.
When
Yeah.
you grow up with three older brothers, you get all this
We just
stuff.
gave him the controller, you
Yeah,
basically,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
It
yeah,
know.
wasn't really planned.
I'm not when it came to that, that definitely happened. You feel me? In other games, it was different
Nah, respect.
sometimes.
Respect. I'm actually a big Ravens fan too, which is crazy. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, like those were my guys. Like that's like what I grew up on, and
Yeah.
those were the guys that like I tried to emulate when I was playing. But yeah, played football. Uh, and then I got into Boston College actually academically, but when I got there, I tried out for the team,
Hmm.
and made the team. And then yeah, I was a linebacker. It was like I was like short for a linebacker, but I was still stocky, big. I was one of the I would love putting my shoulder into people's chests. It doesn't really work out as much today. And then shoot, like running was funny enough was not something that I ever saw for my
Hmm.
future. Um, and then yeah, I mean, I in college is where I met some of my best friends, my brothers that are still my brothers to this day. I would say really like my crew that I confide in, and we all hold each other accountable. Like I tell everybody, especially every dude out there, like your core guy group is so important, man. Like it really like molds you, keeps you accountable, and I hold my crew near and dear, and I'll say all of them are successful in their own right. One guy is orthopedic surgeon, he's out in Boston. Another guy is a lawyer working for a high growth tech company. And then another one is like killing it in tech sales. And yeah, just it's cool. Right now, shoot, three of us are married. One more to go. We pushing him, he'll get there eventually. But yeah, and then yeah, man, I mean that was my Boston life. And while I was in Boston, I worked for a nonprofit out of school, specifically working with high school athletes. Like there was always this athlete kind of component to it. Should I keep going or
Well,
is that
there's there's a part that I do want to touch
yeah.
on even before we get into like all the running and like your career life. Because I
Mhm.
see one consistent thing that I see is like a fact of like it feels like for a lot of this, especially like your sport journey into
Mhm.
college, like you didn't just pop out and was just super talented like
Oh
at
no.
it. Like you had to work for it and like you had to earn it too. And even when it comes to like you knowing that running, wasn't something that you wanted to do, like I'm assuming that's something that didn't really just fall into your lap and things of that
Mhm.
nature. So I'm curious, for sport, like when did that become a love for you? Like sport
Yeah.
and like exercise, when did you start loving that to kind of at the start of your career really building around exercise and athletics?
Yeah, man. No, it's a great question. I just wasn't even really into sports growing up because no one in my family was. And so that's just not what I was exposed to. I think at a young age, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be like Will Smith. That was my thing. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all day, every day. That was my thing. And when I went to high school, or eighth grade rather, I went to a new middle school, and some kid was just like, "Yo, you should play football." And I was just like, I didn't have any friends really because I was new to the school, and I was just like, "Sure." And like my family was against it. I tried it. Like I said, I was pretty trash. I was awful. But I just kept going to practice, and like it was cool. It was a cool way to make friends, and then I just, in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm a football player now. And so freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, I just kept showing up and I got a little bit better, but made friends that were also athletes. And it just kind of became a thing. And I was a chubby kid too. Like in eighth grade, I used to wear there was this brand called Bugle Boy jeans, which was pretty much for like husky kids. Like my
Mhm.
size was husky. Um, and and so when I started playing sport, I wasn't husky no more. And then,
The confidence.
yeah, the confidence, went up. I'm meeting girls, they looking at me different. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this athlete thing, those are my motives, low key.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't starting in anything at that point. But then funny enough, I think the older I got, the more some of my teammates would like clown me, whether it was like the younger kids or kids my age, like, oh, you don't play, you're this, you're that. And that kind of like, I don't know, weirdly like turned something on, a switch off in my head of like, oh, like I need to go a little bit harder if I want to
Mhm.
be able to like play or get some like playing time and also be like a actual key player,
Mhm.
key component of the team. And it's funny, sport ended up becoming what I ended up writing my college essay about. It was I joined wrestling by accident. And wrestling, I'll say, still to this day, one of the hardest things I've ever done physically. And I went there to clean up my locker. The coach saw me. He thought I was in line to try out. I was like, no. And then that coach was also my teacher. So the next day in class, he like literally pulled me out of class, in the middle of class, pulled me out of class and was like, yo, why don't you come to tryouts? I was like, oh no, I don't. I was like, I don't want to wrestle. Like, and he was like, call your mom right now. Tell her you're coming home late because you're gonna try out for wrestling. And I don't know why. I just listened to him and I
Yeah.
called my mom. And then next thing you know, I was a wrestler. And yo, it destroyed me. First 2 weeks, like I was falling out of bed because my legs just couldn't like hold my body because I was so sore. And this dude called me out in front of the whole team, in front of all my boys, in front of like the seniors that I looked up to. And because he saw in my eyes when I was about to quit and
Mhm.
pretty much was like, Jarrett's about to quit. I could see it in his eyes. The demons are telling him to quit, but I know Jarrick, and Jarrick's not a quitter. And in my head, I was like, yes, I am. But then I couldn't quit after that. And after that, like I think that was like the switch. I want to say that was sophomore year, junior year. And then after that, I was like, I'm an athlete. I go hard, get out of my way. I don't care if you're my teammate. I'm going to pop you in the face in practice because that's going to make me better and it's going to make you better. And then
Mhm.
that's just like this monster kind of grew out of, I guess, getting embarrassed.
It sounds like too, like something that's been consistent in your life is just the effect of having like your boys, like a community, like when you
Mhm.
join that football team, when you join the wrestling team,
Yeah.
and even just like you're even speaking to like that accountability that's
Hmm.
really just kept you driven. So you get to the point where you graduate college now and
Hmm.
it's time to start like figuring out what you want to do
Yeah.
next. How did you end up falling into this running this running world type of
Yeah.
thing?
It took some time, but like when I graduated, I I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but the thing that I was most interested in at that time, I'll never forget, was Nike. Like when all my boys were looking for jobs that they wanted to work for or getting internships and all that, like in my free time, I would be like on sneaker blogs and reading up on every shoe. Like I could tell you everything. I could tell you all the stories, all of it. I was obsessed. And I'll never forget, like no one around me understood. I didn't really know any other people that were like into shoes and sneakers like I was. Um, but I always had a fly pair on. And so, but one of my boys was like, "Yo, why don't you work for Nike?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I was like, "What am I gonna do? Work in the store?" Like, I literally just said that, and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Nah, I'm good. I didn't go to college to work in retail." That's
Yeah, yeah,
exact words. And fast forward, my first gig out of college, I worked for a nonprofit that's just started in Boston, where we worked with high school student athletes in the inner city, pretty much to solve the problem of all the athletes, the good athletes were going like getting bused to like the really good suburban schools. And then what was left were kids that just, maybe kids that were really good, but didn't have the grades to play. And so then they just weren't getting those opportunities. So they created this nonprofit where we were pretty much helping these kids stay academically eligible. I did that for a couple of years, and in a weird way, I was like a teacher, but not a teacher. But that's like how the kids saw me, even though I was
yeah.
like 21 years old when I started that job. And I was like, yo, some of these kids look more grown than me. All the teachers stopped me in the hallway because they were like, why aren't you in class? And I was like, I'm one of you. And while I was there, and this is like the through line to how I got to Nike, which is what led me to running. I used to always be like, find what you're passionate about to the kids, that cliche thing, and then you'll never work a day in your life, even though I wasn't doing what I was saying. And then one time a kid called me out. They're like, "Oh, this is what you want to do? Is this your passion?" And I was like, "No." And then they were like, "Well, why are you here then?" And it was like a trip. Yo, kids will call you out. Like
They
if you, matter of
will.
fact, if you're
They will.
stuck, go talk to some teenagers. They'll tell you about yourself. And after that. I like kind of found my way working at the Nike store. And still my goal then was get the discount because I was buying shoes anyway. So, and I was in the Nike job was part-time. So I still had the full-time gig and then I would do part-time at the Nike store. So get that 40% off and save the extra money. I wouldn't spend any of that Nike money because I wanted to move to LA. So I was just like holding that money to the side. And while I was there, the store closed, it reopened. They had this run club. It was like a whole thing. And I kind of got tricked into running. Like one day they were like, "Hey, can you just give a speech before the runners go?" And I was like, "Sure." I was like, "Do I have to run?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Cool," because I don't run. And I got so hyped in the speech that I gave that I just ran out the store with them. And like, but I'm still in football mode, right? So like
Yeah.
I sprinted a block and was like, I had nothing left. But I still tried. And after that, weirdly, one of the staff members at the store was like, "Oh, Jarick's a runner." And so when the store closed, reopened, they were building out this like brand new run club, and they asked me to pace. I didn't even know what that meant. And I remember literally it was like a moment of the person was talking to me and it kind of turned into like a wah wah wah. Like I just wasn't hearing her anymore. And I was just thinking, I was like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, Nike's gonna pay me to run. I was like, and I still have my other job, so I'm just getting paid to stay in shape.
Yeah.
I'll do it. And so that was it. I was like, sure. And also I think at that time I knew that this Econ job existed and I knew that running was important to Nike. So I was like, well, if I put myself in this space, maybe it'll get me closer to what I want. Because at that point, once that kid kind of put that thing in my ear and I started working at the Nike store, then I was like, oh, well, I want to move to LA. There's this Econ job. Maybe I can become an Econ in LA. That was like my thought.
That's how it really be always starts. It's
Yeah.
just like just giving yourself having a vision of
Yeah.
what it is, but then
Yeah.
like giving yourself a little bit of an opportunity for it,
Hmm.
like too.
Yeah. And like most people in my circle didn't get it. But I had a vision. And like I think like most visions, most people don't get it until it's done, until you can actually show it to them. And so in those early days, Like my family was like, you're tripping. My mentor was like, you're tripping. My boys were like, what are you doing? But I kind of stayed on it. And yeah, then running became a thing. Like I can't tell you how many times I almost quit pacing for Run Club because I couldn't keep up with everybody. Then I started running on my own so I could keep up. And then next thing you know, the person that was in charge of Run Club got injured, and then I was the person in charge of Run Club, just like that. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready because then I just stepped up to the plate and then the Run Club became mine. And like even what my identity became to outsiders was that Jarrick is the black guy that runs on Newberry Street with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And I made it my own, like most people, even people that I worked with, were like, well, you're not a real runner. And I was like, because I was like a bigger, I very much was built like a football guy, but I was like, well, I'm running, so I don't know what that means. And I was like, and all these people are coming, marathoners, people that are running 5Ks every weekend were coming to listen to me and run with me. So, I just did it my way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you feel like that's really, is that how Nike really discovered you? It's just like, hey, there's this guy, he's doing these really big runs on Newberry Street in Boston.
yeah,
How did you come across like the opportunity for the LA Ekin
yeah.
role, but also it was in LA, like where you were trying to get to.
I was trying to get to LA, yeah, but to pretty much how it went down was it was like two things. So I was running and people were noticing on a Nike corporate. And one day I randomly got a phone call. Like I was on break and they just happened to call me on break and they were like, hey, this is so and so from the Nike office in New York. Like we've been watching you. And I'm like, what? But I'm like looking around and it felt like a joke, low key.
Yeah.
Because I was like, how does dude call me when I'm on my break? Like how did he know? And so I assumed it was, one of my coworkers or something. And he was just like, he just started asking me questions. And he was like, how are you getting people to show up? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I'm just being myself. And I was like, I guess they like it. Like I just try to make it fun. And he was like, we have a lot of plans for Nike Boston and running, and he's like, we want to make sure that you're a part of those things. And I was like, dope. Uh, Still didn't really know what that meant, but I was like, I'm getting a call from corporate. That's a big deal. Especially knowing that that's where I was trying to play. Also, uh, I have this key thing, or I got all these lines, these quotes, but closed mouths don't get fed is one of them, and also so is out of sight, out of mind. And there was the Eakin in Boston. I used to bug him like, my other one is being strategically thirsty, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to be thirsty, right? But like, and I feel like sometimes that hurts our culture because
But
like
everybody got to be hydrated.
you know what
Everybody
I'm
need
saying?
water though.
Because like we'll be too cool to do something. It's like, well, are you trying to grow or no? Like, are you trying
Yeah.
to get that thing or no? Like, you too cool to get it, then okay, stay over there. But I think there's a way to do it that's like, can be embarrassing. Like I was low key like pressing this dude, like, hey, can I shadow you? Like, and can I do this? Hey, I really want this. And he would just for a long time would avoid me, ignore me. I got his number I found out who his best friend was. I got cool with her. She gave me his numbers, told him to hit me up. He wouldn't. And I ended up finding him one day. He came to Run Club because he was Eakin, so he had to like be in and around the city and whatnot. And he was talking to somebody that I was standing next to, and he shared that he was going to go do a November Project run. I don't know if you guys ever heard of November Project, but it was pretty much this like workout of like hundreds of people would show up, and it would happen. It started in Boston and it ended up becoming this global thing. And it was like these 5:30, 6:30 a.m. workouts. And the most famous one was every Wednesday morning at 5:30 or 6:30, people were running the Harvard Stadium stairs. And you would run all the way around and back if you had it in you. And I heard he was going, so I pulled up, which is crazy, bro. Like me pulling up to a 5:30 a.m. workout just so this guy could see me. And when
Yeah.
he saw me there, that's when he started to let me shadow him. And because he was like, okay, this guy's serious. And so it was a combination of bugging this dude and eventually letting me shadow him, doing the run club stuff, and like continuing to try to push it. That then led to people from Nike corporate coming to Boston. like having private meetings with me and talking to me about things, which then led to this guy got the Econ got in Boston got promoted. And I was like, well, I might as well go for Boston. I was like, I'm the Boston guy. And then he put in a word for me. Like literally his boss called him one time while I was shadowing him and was like, he said, oh, you remember that guy, Jarick? Like he's with me right now. He's been helping me out on XYZ. And next thing you know, I got invited to New York to work this big event as a store employee. And I was working with a bunch of Econs. And then I
Mhm.
interviewed for the Econ job and I got it. And like yeah, the rest is was history. But it was so much like I remember I ended up like this is part of the story that I left out, but I quit my full-time job trying to get this Econ job. And my mentor literally called me stupid. She was like, "This is the dumbest thing you've ever done." And that money I was saving to move to LA depleted. It got like real low.
Mhm.
And I remember it was around my birthday where I like everyone went out. Well, people were inviting me out, and I was just laying on my bed staring at my ceiling, like, what am I doing? I was like, this is not going how I think it's supposed to go. And then it was like a snowball effect. October, a bunch of people from corporate came to Boston and were like hyping me up. November, I'm in New York City working with all the Econs. December, I'm interviewing for the Econ job. January, I got the Econ job. And like by the hair of my chinny chin chin, bro. I was the
Yeah,
money
yeah.
was zero. But it played out that way. And at the time, that was the most money I'd ever made. And now I was on the Nike corporate side, you know what I'm saying? And that was legendary for me because that was the goal. That was the vision. Even at that point, I don't even think I thought about anything after that. Like I said, I was like, cool, stay here till I'm the CEO.
Yeah, it's crazy like to hear all that story, then to finally get there, like to get to Nike. I'm because especially someone that would be like in the sneakers, that's the holy grail to like
Yeah,
be in that place. I'm curious, what did you learn? Like, what's one kind of like a key learning, just like being in that corporation that you probably use
yeah,
today, and kind of even expand a little bit more of just like how much that meant to like finally like get that position.
yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, to get that position, I remember I think I fell to my knees. I was like in the middle of the street when the dude was like, "So you got the job?" And I was like crossing the street, and I just like dropped to my knees, and I was like, no, no way. And I mean, I was at Nike for six, yeah, 6 years, including my retail time, and to this day, like currently I work with some ex-Nike guys that work on the speed project side, and we always kind of joke about it, how it's like getting the best kind of degree in marketing working there. And I like to think that I was at Nike in its kind of heyday before, some shifts and all that happened, and I got to see, learn, touch uh some some things that are and even people and work with people that are pretty iconic in the marketing world that have since left Nike and like are doing crazy things at other companies. And I'm ever grateful for that. I feel like Nike in many ways just the freedom or not the freedom but the progressiveness of Nike was
Bro,
wild.
Aaron, that train
You
is
can hear that?
It was wild, yeah.
Oh man, I didn't
Yeah,
know. Okay,
I thought it
that.
was a sound effect.
Yo,
I
my
was like,
bad.
I thought it was like a sound effect,
I
like
didn't.
keep
I was like
going.
hoping that it couldn't hear. Y'all could hear.
that
That's
is
funny though.
loud, bro. I
It
was
is
like,
loud.
that,
Yeah, I definitely
it
thought it was
kept
like,
going. Like, how long? How long?
I thought the noise would cancel it out, but my bad.
Oh,
My
my bad.
bad.
That was
I
funny.
thought you
That
was
was
hitting a
funny.
button there. I thought you was hitting the play button. Um, no, but yeah, I think one of especially as a black man, and what I thought was possible in corporate America was defied a little bit while I was at Nike. And that's one of the things that I think I credit or I'm most grateful for at Nike. When I was at Nike, I showed up, when I started working there, I had a high top fade. It was gentle.
Yeah.
By the time I left Nike, I had locks that was like down to my shoulders. And like that was the last thing that I ever would have thought was possible. I remember wanting to grow my hair in college, thinking I'm not going to get a job. Wanted to
Hmm.
grow my hair after college. I was like, I won't get a job. And then here I was working at the time in my dream gig, and I had locks, and like it didn't seem to be getting in the way of things. Like, and what made me do it too was there was a guy that was presenting on stage, and my man had bedhead, like, like his hair was just in all directions. It was a white dude, bless his heart. And I was like, man, this dude just woke up and just showed up to work today. And then I saw him like 3 days after, and each time his hair was facing in a different direction, but it wasn't groomed. It was just like
Hmm.
mess. And I was like, well, I was like, if this dude can do this, then I can have some locks that I take care of. And I
Boom.
think that like just created a different, it made me show up differently than I think I would have showed up if I felt I had to, still, don't get me wrong, still very much code switched where I needed to, but um I don't know, I think it unlocked something that wouldn't have existed otherwise had I gone maybe the more traditional path.
I also feel like Nike, because what were those years like? Maybe like 2013.
Yeah, so no, it was 2015 when I got the Econ job, literally the top of that year. Shoot, I can tell you some of the moments, and then I left in 2019. So that was between, a great All-Star weekend in New York City. This was coming off of some of the best All-Star weekend footwear. That was when Kyrie was coming out, like as a Nike athlete in the beginning. I think that was his first year with Nike. I was there during the time with Kaepernick,
Yeah,
and the Just Do It campaign. That was 2018. Uh, and shoot, like yeah, Nike was on fire
yeah,
during that time, and it was crazy. Nike was on fire during that time. Then Kanye was with Adidas during that time, and so that little that fight was happening. But it was a really dope time to be there because there was so much like action of us being the winners, us of Adidas taking up market share, and us trying to like fight
yeah.
back. And
Vaporfly came out around that time.
Vaporfly came out during that time. Yeah, Vaporfly came out a little bit towards the end of my time out there. That was also like I worked when I moved to LA. I launched React. We shut down the freeway in LA for a 10K. That was like my one of the first things I worked on. We did a race at SpaceX. Yeah, I got to work on some really really dope things, and I think especially my time at working for Nike. Nike is what ended up moving me to LA. So like I still check the box. This time Nike moved me out here instead of me having to move out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
And again, like I mean, I could talk about it forever, but it was literally me going back to remembering what the initial goal was. Because once I became an Econ, I was just trying to get any job. I was like, I'll go to Portland, I'll go to Chicago, I'll go to New York. And when I like took a step back and I was like, wait, the goal was to go to LA anyway. And then I just like hyper focused on moving to Nike Los Angeles. And then it happened in running. I didn't even have to interview. They just called me one day. I was driving on Sturrow, almost crashed. You can't pull over on Sturrow. And they were like, we'd like to offer you the job to work for Nike running in LA. And I was like, crazy.
That is
Um,
crazy.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's when y'all had those equality shirts, huh?
Yeah.
I love that. I had
Yeah.
one of those. I remember like even just getting those. I was like, dang, I want that equality shirt. You saw everybody wearing that. I was
For
like, that's
real.
hard. Like, yeah.
Yeah. That was the time, man. That was the time. Yeah, I would say like the heyday, man. There was a lot of really dope things happening at Nike during that time. And yeah, I was grateful to be able to touch it all. Shoot, my first year in LA was All-Star Weekend in LA. And I was just trying to find my way. I was like, what do y'all need? Do you need me to do something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
Strategically thirsty. Yeah.
I de
strategically thirsty.
I definitely feel like you were ahead of your time in like just the appearance of being like a black man that is not coming from running, that's
Hmm.
leading like a run club or crew. And I feel like during that time period in LA is when like you started seeing like Korean run
Three-time run
club,
club. Yeah.
Koreatown Run Club, like all of the run crew culture started to really
Yeah.
like pop up before like, and Nike was really good at like getting in with that
Yeah.
culture like before, whereas like everyone now I feel like is playing catch up. But I think
Yeah.
your energy as a person is really what people are looking for now, and I feel like that's what really like just made you stand out.
I appreciate that, man. And I mean the it's funny that you mentioned, I mean, Koreatown Run Club, I love those guys, Mike and Dewey. Shout out to them. They really like held me down and a lot of other people from K-Town Run Club that I was new to LA, and they very much became my community and made LA feel like home early. And when I got there, I was tasked with like tapping into the community. And something that I saw in LA that I didn't see in Boston was how diverse the community was. Like in Boston, it was tough to get other people that were non-white to run. Even when I was leading it, they didn't want to come to Newbury because they didn't feel welcome on Newbury. Newbury is one of the wealthiest streets in Boston, if not the wealthiest. And I can't lie, I didn't really frequent Newbury until like I worked at the Nike store, and then I was like, oh, it's all right. And in LA, I remember I think I was just visiting, and I went to a Koreatown Run Club, and there was a black dude with like pink hair, and I was like, oh, this is crazy. I
Yeah.
never seen anything like this. And yeah, like, and then it was really tapping into the community. That was like one of the first things that I did. And what I wanted to exist in Boston so bad, I tried to help create in LA, and bring on all the different types of crews into the Nike ecosystem, and people that I thought were dope, that were doing it for the right reasons, that were just trying to get people to move in their communities. Um, and so much came out of it. And I was like low key with it because then when I left Nike, I just kind of like disappeared a little bit from running because I thought I had to go chase this corporate dream that just wasn't true. But I
Yeah.
learned. Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna ask you next is like, how did you how did you know when it was time for you to like transition
Yeah.
into the next phase of your career? Because yeah, I think that's one thing I think is really cool is like you worked for the NFL
Hmm.
for a second.
Yeah. I didn't. I kind of got annoyed that they kept referring to me as the running guy. And I was just like, man, that's what you know of me. And I was like, and what's funny is I was like the core of me, I was like, I wasn't a runner. I was like, the runners didn't even accept me. What you mean? Like, I'm the running guy. And I don't know, it threw me off. And I don't like labels anyway. And so I I was like, well, I need to make moves. And initially I tried to make moves within Nike. It didn't work out. Funny enough, this NFL gig kind of fell on my plate around the same time, not too long after Kaepernick. So, as someone that grew up on NFL and loved the NFL, loved football, I wasn't super happy with the NFL. And um, I actually interviewed for them already expecting to not take the job. I was just going to use it as leverage to then try to get Nike to give me what I wanted, pay me more, give me a job that I wanted, or whatever. It almost worked. But then when I interviewed, I was like, oh shoot, this seems dope. And the guy
Yeah.
that was leading that team, he was like, we're here to fix the NFL's reputation. And the way that his vision was to do it, I was like, oh, the vision that he had to do it, I was like, oh wait, well, I can get behind this. And then I made that move, shook up my whole family. They were like, everyone, this is your dream, Nike, CEO till you die, right? Like a whole thing. And I was like, I see something else here. And yeah, and I don't it's so crazy. I do not regret it at all. And it was scary. That was definitely, I think, a very, very scary move. And actually just like made I did what's it called?
Substack
A recommendation
or recommendation.
for my old LinkedIn boss, my old boss at Nike at the time on LinkedIn. And I am ever grateful for her because when that job came up, I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not gonna work for the league. And she was like, just take the job. She said, just take the interview, just have the conversation. She's like, always have the conversation. You don't need to like take the job. And that conversation completely switched my perspective. And I credit that move being like instrumental in like all the moves that I made afterwards of not feeling like I need to like be attached to this thing or stay at a place long enough for it to become my identity. That like sort of thinking developed from that switch and that pivot. Many people can't pivot, but like there's an art to pivoting. And I firmly believe like my little line, if you're not pivoting, like you ain't really living. Because it's like you need that challenge to keep you hungry, to keep you excited, to keep things interesting. And that's exactly what that move did.
It seemed like it opened up you up all those like big moves that you made even back in Boston and the NFL opened up the amazing opportunities. And I know you've been part of to be part of like the NFL and Nike and like these big corporations has allowed you to be part of like impactful activations as well, where you
Yeah.
can exactly do what you want is to entertain and like inspire on like
Hmm.
a global scale almost. What's some of the things that you've been a part of to where like you've been able to see like that direct impact where you're walking down the street or just through social media of like in marketing in those type of ways?
Yeah. I mean,
Or it doesn't have to be a part of the NFL or Nike, but
yeah.
just in general.
But no, man, I mean, it's a cool question, and I think it's I mean, shoot, working at the NFL was also a wild one. That's when my hair became a thing because everyone thought I was an NFL player, a former player. Like I had people taking my coworkers taking selfies with me because they thought I was a player, and I was like, no, I'm in the same meetings as you, Susan. And so uh, it it was really interesting working there. At the time, that was the most corporate place I ever worked, but. This is Jarick with the locks, different energy.
Mm.
And I kind of went in there with this chip on my shoulder that I felt like one, I was like, I didn't even really want to be here. And I was like, and if I'm here, I need to make changes and shifts and whatever. And so while I was there, I think one of the things I'm most proud of is uh during the time of this is 2020, pandemic, George Floyd, civil unrest. It was like a really heated and weird time at the league, especially where I think the league, I remember, I think put out a statement. Initially, didn't put out a statement when all these other brands and companies were putting out statements, and the players have been super vocal, and the NFL had not been. And I was just like, I kind of just like put myself in meetings and was calling out leadership to be like, well, what are we doing? And they're like, oh, we got it. And they did something and I thought it sucked. And so and I literally was like, what does this say? Because I was like, it says nothing. It's just a bunch of words. And then it was weird. We just kept having meetings and meetings and meetings. And in every meeting, I'll be the first one to call somebody out. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't even care. I was like, if y'all let me go, whatever, I'm going out fighting. And it got to a point where we had this town hall there was like two things that happened. One, I started to like rally other NFL employees that were like, hey, I'm with you. We got to do something. And we ended up writing a letter to the commissioner that didn't make it to the commissioner because some leaders told us, hey, that's not appropriate, like, or hey, maybe we shouldn't do that. And one of the content guys on the squad, took the letter that we put together and sent it to a player. And then that player hit up a bunch of other players, and then they read that letter and made a video out of it. And then posted it and it went wildly viral. And it was like everybody and their mama was talking about it, and it dropped like the same day as us having a town hall that was led by the commissioner.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and it was like no one saw it coming. Like we knew it was happening, and like everybody was on it. Like, and at the time, this was like all the best players, all the players that were most important to the league. Like Odell was on there, Patrick Mahomes was on there. Yeah, like the guys at the time. And And to shoot, one of the lines in there was like, well, what if I was George Floyd? Would you care? Sort of thing. And then I ended up in that town hall with the commissioner. They opened it up, and I was the first one to speak, and I had some words. And I pretty much was like, as a kid, when I grew up, the league always kind of brought the country together. Like when like I started watching football around the same time as 9/11,
Mm.
and like all the work that the NFL did to like make us feel patriotic and proud Americans. That like I remember watching it with my family and being like, "Yeah, America." And then same when Hurricane Katrina happened, it was the same thing. Like, it was a whole moment that the league was bringing the country together, and I was like, "Now, where y'all at? Like, what are we doing?" And it was crazy from there. It led to the commissioner making a video condemning racism. And what was dope was that the team sent it to me to see if I was cool with it before it went live. And that was like a crazy trip. And yeah, something where I felt like I was like, yo, I feel very strongly that um, wherever I work, I'm gonna use the power of the brands that I work for to like move culture, to make the world a better place, or to whatever. And I couldn't do that on my own, but like with the swoosh behind me or with the shield behind me, I can do way more than I can do by myself. So I think I would say that's probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, but also the very thing that also made me end up leaving the league as well. Because I was like, all right, well, y'all don't really care that much, so I'm out.
Yeah.
Were you like at a point too where you were like burnt out of working at a big corporation, basically?
Yeah, man. Like my wife jokes with me now. She's like, if you go to corporate again, she's like, if you go back to corporate America now, she's like, I think you'll get into a fight. And it's weird, man. Like again, I always go, I keep saying, go back to like the early days and you just recognize like some things that maybe people said about you, some things that you felt about yourself. And I'll never forget my first job ever. Some of my teammates, they would laugh at me when and they would laugh. It was like nice, but they were like, man, Jack, I feel like this corporate place isn't really for you. And the whole
Yeah.
time I just felt like I had to prove them wrong. So I was like, boom, Nike, look at me, corporate guy at Nike, boom, NFL, corporate guy at the NFL. Then I went to go work in tech, and I was like, boom, corporate guy in tech. But more and more, I was just like, nah, this ain't for me. The and it was a lot of the politics that annoyed me. And I think also just maybe, I think mentorship is something. If I could go back in time, I would have prioritized more, especially as I was growing in my career. But after a while, I was just like, it's not always about how hard you work. It's a lot of the politics that you play and how good you are at politics. And I saw people that weren't good at their job, that dare I say weren't that smart, but whew, they can play that game. And
Mm.
in playing that game, they moved up the ladder. And the people that were working hard, kind of stayed in the same place. And so after a while, I'll never forget talking to my boy about it. I was like, yo, I hate this. And he was like, well, you signed up for it. So either play the game or leave. And then I was like, oh, shoot, you're right. And I think I tried to play the game for a little bit after that conversation. And then I don't know, I just kept feeling this itch of like wanting to do my own thing. I was working very closely to entrepreneurs. My last like official, not official, but my last job, where I had an employee number and all. Um, I I worked pretty closely to the CEO that has been like and founder that was had a successful business. And I don't know, the more I was around CEOs and founders and I saw like, oh, you guys aren't geniuses, like you just
Mm.
keep trying. And like, and it's a little bit of luck, but just like at the end of the day, it's like you continuously try. And I was like, well, I can do that. Like I know enough about something to like do something. And it's funny, I did get laid off from that job, but it was weird, man. I called it. I told my wife, I was like, I think I need to get laid off or fired. Otherwise, like I'm not gonna really do my own thing. And then like a month later it happened. And then I was like, and they gave me a heads up. They gave me like 3 months heads up. And I was like, maybe I'll get another job. I think I interviewed for one place. it didn't work out. And I was like, nah, I don't want this anyway. And then started my own thing, started working more closely with the speed project. And again, it's hard to envision going back to any of it. I do think I'll get into a fight. Uh, that's why I'm here.
What I'm wondering too when you say go back to it, because I feel like I have very similar things in my story to
Yeah.
yours, and then like for me in the beginning, like yeah, I have this had this strong vision of how I was gonna make it into this
Mhm.
brand, and I executed it and I made it there. So for you, when you got to the point, did have you had that second, strong vision of like, okay, this is the direction I want
Yeah.
to go with my career?
Yeah. No, it's a good point, man. And yeah, it, and don't get me wrong, right? Like, let me preface this where I think a lot of moves that I'm able to make, not I think, I know a lot of moves I'm able to make today, or a lot of things that might have taken much longer have been significantly shortened because of the experience and the connections that I've built over the years working for these big brands, and working alongside some really, really smart people. Uh, and things that I learned that like I didn't even do, but just because I was next to someone that did it, I learned it, and then I was able to like just implement it on my own. I think for me, I always kind of envisioned doing something on my own, and I didn't know what it was. Once upon a time, I wanted to have a sneaker store. Um, and then like all of a sudden this like agency idea or like managing talent kind of became a thing, and um I kind of discovered it a little bit at Nike because I was just like all the like, excuse me, like when I worked at Nike, I worked very closely with a lot of these founders of run clubs, Mike and Dewey from KRC, Mariah from Girl Getting Crazy, Butter from Keep It 100, and more. And I was very inspired by the work that they were doing, and I would try to help them like understand like, hey, like if you want support from the brands, you got to position it this way. And I don't know, I just found joy in that. And and again, it felt like I was doing the same thing of like leveraging the power of, I'm like, cool, if I can help Butter, how many more people will run because of Butter,
Hmm.
and so that's kind of how I started to look at it. And it was kind of just like right in my face. And then same at the NFL, the first client that I signed to my business, WATUWEMA, was someone that a talent that I invited to the Super Bowl. And Mossy Arias, and same thing. Like she's been helping, like I remember her from years ago. Like my ex-girlfriend was obsessed with her, and like she just wouldn't stop talking about her. And then there I was with her, there she was, still inspiring women all around the world. And and one day she just hit me up. And I think that's the thing too. I think you kind of just have to sometimes just roll with the punches. And like I know many friends that wouldn't do that, but like that's just kind of how it, I think this is kind of how it plays out sometimes. My Mossy, we stayed in touch. One day she hit me up and was like, she was with the big agency and she stopped working with them. And one day she just like texted me like, "Hey, do you have the capacity to manage me?" And I said yes, but I definitely didn't have that capacity. I was working for the tech company at the time, but I knew I was like, maybe this is my out. And I just said yes. I didn't even know all the rules. I worked a lot with agents and managers, so I understood. And I also have my own theories of what I think works best, where the gaps were. And to me, what I learned working next to these founders was that all they did was find a gap and then just like keep pushing hard on it. And I was like, well, shoot, I don't have a gap. I've been in this talent industry now in marketing for some years that and I'm close to it. And the things that would frustrate me about managers and agents, I was like, well, let me just do it my way. Similar to how I did running, right? Like
Hmm.
running wasn't inviting to me when I started out. And so I made it in a way that I felt was inviting to others. And it worked. So I'm like, well, shoot, let me see if I can do it over here. And it was still not a thing initially that I was like, this is going to be Like I think in the beginning, I wanted I wanted to work with like senior execs to help them pretty much like help them by like styling them and helping them build their confidence so then they could be better leaders.
Hmm.
That's because this last company I worked for was an HR company. Had your boy in a whole nother world in space, but I saw it as an opportunity. And then I was like, why am I going to try to do this in a space that I don't even really like that much, but
Yeah.
I like fitness, I like sport, and it made sense. And then I just started getting other clients. And shoot, I don't think I asked anyone to be my client. They all came as a referral. And then boom, my business was born. And it's been dope. And it's like a full circle moment. Once upon a time, someone said when I was at Econ, they said the Econ job will be the most fun job you will ever have. And after I was no longer Econ, I was like, oh, can you curse on here?
Joshua,
I
Yeah.
want Joshua, you be cursing?
Yeah, you
Joshua,
can
you
Joshua,
be
cuss.
don't be
cursing?
I
cursing.
don't curse. I don't
You don't
curse.
curse? Okay, well, I'm not gonna curse either. I was like, man, sorry, I lost my thought. But yeah, when after they said Econ job was the best job you'll ever have, and when I left the Econ job, I was like, yo, they're not lying. Like it's just not. It's it's cool what I get to work on, but it's not as fun. And now I feel like I'm like a grown-up Ekin, in a way where I'm just like moving and shaking, building relationships, connecting with community, and leveraging my relationships and finding ways to put the talent that I work with in really in better positions to touch more people, inspire more people to move, get active, what have you. And I get to do that same thing with the Speed Project as well. Like I feel like people run TSP and their lives be changing. And so to me, I'm like, that's the only thing I ever wanted to be a part of is things that like change people. And so um, I've seen people run TSP, go home and quit their jobs, move in
Wow.
their relationships. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
therapy.
for real, big time. It makes you it makes you look within, literally. And you got all that time out there. Uh, and so yeah, it's and I'm sure even TSP happened in such a random way. Um, and I just like I didn't fight it. I was just like, cool, let's just see. And now here we are,
How long has TSP been going for now? Like, when did that start?
2013.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's a
How long have you
while.
been with TSP?
And I've been working with TSP since 2020 or 2021. But since I've been in LA, I've always done TSP, whether yeah, pretty much crewed every time. The year I was supposed to run, I got injured. And I still tried to run and then I rolled my ankle stepping off of the RV. Um, and but yeah, I've always been around it. And I feel like in being around it multiple times, it eventually got me like closer and closer and closer to like the core team. The founder, I interviewed him for this podcast that never came out. It was a dope interview too. I don't know where it's at. It's on like an old computer somewhere. But after that interview, he was like, "Yo, you should come help and host." And I was like, "Sure." And then it's just been that since. Like I've just been around it since.
So that was 2020 when you guys first did like the IG live and stuff. And
Yeah, so the IG lives were happening before, but
okay.
like what really took it what really took it over the edge was during the pandemic. One, TSP is expensive, and like one, if you don't live in LA, like just the flight to LA alone is a lot, and then you got all the other logistics that cost money. And when we did, um, I think it was 2020 and 2021, they did TSP DIY, where pretty much they would they would give you a certain amount of hours, which was like the TSP record, and they
Hmm.
would say who can run the furthest in this amount of time. So people all over the world were like camping out or getting a house or whatever and just like running around their crib. And so there were literally people all over the world that were participating that had been watching. And it, gave people almost like the safe way to do the speed project and the most inexpensive way to do the speed
Yeah.
project. And that really like made it grow because then all these people that got a taste, uh then we're actually like trying to come out to run the race in LA. And then literally that's how we met a team that invited us to Chile, that then led to us doing a race in Chile. It like opened up our network in an insane way.
That's crazy that there's races in Chile now. And
Yeah.
there's other spot countries too, right?
Yeah, so we do it in France as well. From this mountain town, I didn't even know about it until I was
Oh, you
out
guys doing it in Chamonix?
Chamonix to Marseille.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one's really. I mean, all of them are special. I mean, running in Chile across the Atacama is like running on another planet. And that's our probably our hardest. They're all hard, but that one's the hardest. That one like elevation's like 4,500 meters, guaranteed at least like half of your team will get elevation sickness. You're running
Jeez.
across the Chilean Bolivian border. You're running in and around volcanoes, active volcanoes. It's really hot during the day. It could be really cold at night, but it's beautiful. And then the race in Chamonix to Marseille is a vibe. You run from this like mountain town where it's probably like raining, and then you end up on the coast of France, looking at the Mediterranean. Not a bad way to end the run. Um, yeah, and then we have some new ones. It might have a new one coming this year too.
It's crazy.
It's dope, man. Like actually, I got to bring my wife and kid to the last race that we did in France, so it was dope. My son, not even 1 years old, had a passport, and was looking at the French Swiss Alps. To me, that's a win, because I didn't see that French Swiss Alps until 2 years ago. So the fact that he got to see it before one, you know, I'm like, okay, doing something.
And it all starts again, what, in 2, 3 weeks here in
Yeah.
March?
Yeah, LALV, LA to Vegas is right around the corner. We never drop dates, but it's right around the corner. And this one is going to be the biggest one that we've ever done. There's a lot of really dope surprises that we have up our sleeve. A lot of really dope stories. A lot of people coming out to break the relay record, the solo record. Um, yeah, it's gonna be a special one, and it's my son's birthday, so yeah, we're gonna have a good old time.
Celebrate.
Yeah, big old celebration. Are y'all gonna pull up? At least pull up to the start line, something?
I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna
Okay.
find my way out.
Yeah, even if you want to come out to the Vegas, if you want to come out to the pool party, let me know. I'll make sure you get a ticket or tickets. But yeah, it's gonna be a yeah. I'll make sure you know of the Vegas festivities. But yeah, man, I mean, would love for y'all to be out there. Yeah, catch the vibes.
The
It's
starts in
special.
the starts Santa Monica.
Yep, Santa Monica Pier. Um, yeah, Santa Monica Pier, super early. Uh, some minor yelling and screaming, and then the race begins.
Well, I think Joshua, we're getting towards the close. There was so much in there. There was a lot. There was a lot in there. Trying to think of a great way to end this conversation or any final questions. Joshua, you like you have something you about to say?
Well, yeah, we always have our final question that we ask each and every guest, but one thing, this may elongate a little bit more, but because I just seen from your story that I thought I was interesting, just to the fact of like it always came down to like being yourself, I feel like in a way. And
Hmm.
sometimes that could be like the simplest advice, but is something that's extremely effective. I just seen a reel the other day, like this guy went up to Rich Eisen, who, if you guys don't know, like
Yeah,
probably one of the longest running sports talk shows in the man for a minute. And this
a
guy was a
legend.
super fan. The Rich Eisen was like, "What's one piece of advice you give me?" He said, "Just be yourself." Like
Mhm.
that's all he pretty much like be yourself. Literally, like that's all he said. Be yourself,
Yeah,
be authentically you, and like that will make it happen. And it seems like for you, Jarick, like in all those situations, like being yourself and making running your own like got to where you want to be. And I think about even me and Aaron's story, like in a lot of it, like me like wanting to start doing the running report, and then we started doing two black runners, and now working at Mile Split. All that started was because like I didn't see an inviting space in like running media for Black people. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, let me just make running my own, like
Yeah.
maybe make running media my own too. And
Hmm.
that came from success that, some of it never like imagined like working at the Armory for a year in New York and
Oh,
not a year for
wow.
like 3 months or whatever. But for
Yeah.
that season, like that was amazing. Like us going to the World Championships was amazing. Like being able to interview
Man.
athletes. So it's just all like being yourself. Like it's probably harder said than done, but
Yeah.
definitely effective. Like with
Yeah. I I also like want to add like a comment to what I learned from this is like it's something I try to tell myself because when we were younger, we ran club track growing up,
Mm.
and I love track, but like at 8 years old, you're not trying to always go to practice,
Yeah.
you know. And we always and we never. My dad would end up being the coach. We were never missing practice,
Yeah.
and all the parents though had the same energy of just like it was very black. Like anybody could potentially whoop you. Like don't be playing around. But when I look back in hindsight, I was like, wow, like these people were really like putting me through a process.
Hmm.
They're putting me
Hmm.
in a process still so I can know like discipline and like hard work and like commitment and so I could get a scholarship and go to college and you know so like I think back to like your journey and there were so many times like you were just being put through this process to like become to be the person that you are. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, yes, we have to like really push to be yourself, but you're like discovering. It's hard when you're like discovering yourself at the
Yeah.
same time.
Truly.
Like,
Truly. Cause, and uh, I'll hit you with this. Um, I I got the last job I worked at, we had a where I had an employee number. We pretty much sold executive coaching. And so like in the same way you be coached as an athlete, it's someone that coaches you for your job, life, whatever, right? And it's like the best athletes in the world have coaches still. So why wouldn't we have coaches if we're trying to navigate life or whatever?
yeah,
We had this coach, shout out to Disha. And one day when I was like in the middle of like TSP, doing my own thing, I was like, yo, I just need like a book or just guidelines that can help me navigate this. I need a playbook. And she hit me with this, and it's like always in the back of my head. She said, "You are the playbook." And so, as it relates to like being yourself, whatever, I feel like weirdly, like the answers are inside of what we need to do. We know who we are. We know what like moves us, what drives us. And it's like, why not put yourself in the positions that will allow you to like thrive in those lanes? And because the world is ever changing. We can go out and get inspiration, advice, whatever, but no matter what, it's going to look different for you. And so I think it heavily relates to being yourself. But I think it's just like, yeah, I think trusting yourself and recognizing that you're the playbook. You know how to make these moves. And if you don't, you know how to find how to make these moves and just do it. Like so I think for me that's especially in the last couple years is some of the it's like the best line that has kind of kept me going. Especially when like life is full of uncertainty. Uncertainty how to be a dad. You know what I'm saying? I could read every parent book and like it wasn't working when they said this will
yeah.
help your kids sleep through the night. I was like, well, it wasn't working. So I had to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? And it worked. Now I sleep through the night sometimes. And so so yeah.
No, no, that's good. That's good. We only asked our final question, right? Because that was
we'll ask last
oh,
question is
dang.
what do you
Yeah.
media? Am I saying that right? I want to make sure I'm saying it right. What do you media?
Come on, man.
Am I saying it? I'm saying I'm off.
I don't know what you're asking me.
I'm not asking you. Okay, where can the people find you? Is
Yeah,
basically
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
trying to say. Where can the people
Yes,
find
yes,
you?
yes. 100%. So I recently took all the vowels out of my name on Instagram. So it is JR at JRCKWLKR. Jarick Walker. It still sounds like Jarick Walker, but that's me on Instagram, Jarick Walker on LinkedIn, and uh and yeah, you can find me in the streets. Whenever there's a speed project in your near you, I'm probably there, yelling sweet nothings and trying to give the people energy.
All
Does my
right.
name work without the vowels?
Say what?
No. Does
Does
your
my
name
name work without the
Mm.
vowels?
No, it's
A
just
S
just
H.
just but Potts kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Iron your does.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Well,
Aaron.
Ar-
all right, without the
Aaron.
vowels?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aaron.
I think like yours is low key perfect. I feel like ours, is kind of
Yeah,
tough, but
it was a recent realization. I was like, oh, I love this. Um,
that's dope. That's dope. But Jarick, man, we really do appreciate you coming through. Best of luck in everything, man. Best wishes in it all. Uh, we'll be expecting some consistency text coming soon about everything, and
yes,
we appreciate you just coming on. This was a pleasure.
absolutely appreciate y'all having me. It means a lot for real, and I love what y'all are doing. Don't stop. Truly.
Never.
Yeah,
We'll
looking
see y'all
forward.
next Tuesday.